Rishi Sunak, Penny Mordaunt, Tom Tugendhat, Liz Truss, Nadhim Zahawi, Kemi Badenoch, Jeremy Hunt and Suella Braverman have all reached the minimum threshold of Tory declarations to make it onto the first ballot ahead of the hotly contested leadership election later this summer. Now, while Fishy Rishi and his band of Boris backstabbers may have the highest number of public declarations, he shouldn't be picking out new wallpaper just yet because, according to a survey by the Conservative Home website of Tory party members, Sunak is actually sitting in third place with only 12% of the over 800 surveyed behind the former Chancellor. Interestingly, two formidable female candidates in the Minister for Trade, Penny Mordaunt, and former Women and Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch are sitting in the top two spots with just under 20% and 19% respectively. And with the level of support these two relative outsiders are enjoying, could this leadership race be the perfect chance to reinvent the Tory party? Well, joining me now to give their analysis as to what Tory party members are really thinking and why the media have got it wrong are the Conservative media's leading ladies, the Daily Telegraph's Madeline Grant and Conservative Home's Emily Carver. Great to have you both here. Emily, let me kick off with you because, of course, Conservative Home, that's your poll. Fascinating stuff, Emily, because it suggests that Rishi ain't got a hope in hell of winning this thing. So it's all about who he's up against.
Well, I must just say I don't actually work for Conservative Home. I am a columnist there, but of course I did look at polling that was out yesterday evening, and it did make for interesting reading. I mean, Rishi Sunak is still third, but it is Penny Mordaunt and Kemi Badenoch that are at the top, the leading ladies. And I think I've got a good idea why. They come across as true blue, no-nonsense candidates. And Kemi Badenoch, she's been a bit of a little rocket, a bit of a surprise. She's taken us all by surprise. She's been no-nonsense, straight-talking. She's spoken about free speech, free markets, free people, anti-nanny state. She says we need to be honest with the public. We need to tell them, if we're going to cut taxes, that also means we need to rein in public spending, which a lot of politicians are very loath to admit. They don't like to admit that there are ever trade-offs. And she's been very to the point. And I think Conservative members want to hear that. But of course, I think a lot of these MPs that are voting now and deciding who's going to be the next Prime Minister, they need to think about the bigger picture. They need to think about who they need to appeal to at the general election. And I'm sorry, but I don't think that's going to be Rishi Sunak. I'm not sure he's going to go down very well in those northern red wall seats.
Madeline Grant, what do you make of how this race is being covered at the moment? Because from where I'm sitting, the establishment, the BBC, the Tory grandees, they're all saying, it's Rishi's to lose. And don't get me wrong, I think he will be in the final two. But everything that I'm picking up, Madeline, is that the Tory members don't want to vote for Rishi. They feel betrayed over the tax hikes and the lack of promise of tax cuts. And they also are really furious that he wielded the knife against Boris Johnson.
I'm not sure if I would agree entirely with that. I'm sure there are some people who are very angry with the Chancellor for his role in deposing the Prime Minister. But I think that actually what will be a bigger problem for Rishi Sunak down the line is actually the fact that he's associated with a regime that has been, quite unpopular. He's associated with tax cuts. He can't distance himself, tax rises. He can't now distance himself from that because it's his own economic platform. And given that he was fined for, he received a fixed penalty notice for that situation with the cake in 10 Downing Street. He's also associated with Partygate in the minds of the public. And I personally think the fine was quite unfair. But nevertheless, as someone said recently, them's the breaks. So I think that there are probably people who are angry with Rishi for different reasons. There are some who resent his role in the deposition of the Prime Minister, and there are others who associate him still with with Boris Johnson and his style of government. And I think you're absolutely right that what happens next entirely depends on who ends up within the final two. And there have been rumours, in fact, that Team Sunak have been decided to lend a few of their votes to the Jeremy Hunt team so that he would get through to the next round, because they know that he's one of the few people that he seems to poll very well against in these runoffs. So I don't know if that is the case or not, but there seems to be a lot of dirty backstabbing and dark arts going on already, and this competition's been only going for a few days.
Oh, my goodness, I know, and it's only going to get worse. So Emily, I guess the issue for the right of the Tory party is that they have to decide if they're going to have a candidate, sort of stop Rishi candidate that they coalesce behind. And you had some big Boris Johnson backers, and Nadine Dorries and Jacob Rees-Mogg, signal that for Team Boris, they have chosen Liz Truss to be that candidate today.
Well, Liz Truss is a very strong candidate for many people. She is undeniably free market, and that is something that a lot of Conservative members and members of the general public as well would like to see more of. She has said that she would like to see taxes decreased, reduced massively. She wants to see deregulation of our economy. She wants to see us trading more outwardly. And of course, she's been able to present herself as very much behind Brexit, even though, of course, she was to begin with a Remainer. So she is very popular with the Conservative membership. But we have seen this rise of Penny Mordaunt and this rise of Kemi Badenoch as well to act against that. So it's going to be very interesting to see which of these women manages to get to the top when it comes to the final two, whether any of them will, because, as you said, it's very important that MPs get behind one person if they want to have not a wet candidate against Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, which would just be a disaster. I mean, my worst nightmare on a personal level is Sunak versus Hunt. So if that second place on the ballot, Madeline, does come down to Penny Mordaunt versus Liz Truss, do you have any sense where Tory MPs are likely to go?
Well, these competitions are incredibly hard to predict because there's so many moving parts, and you have things like, for example, tonight we heard that Sajid Javid had pulled out.
Yes.
So then you have to add this extra bit of sort of three-dimensional chess or whatever, like where do his followers go? And you have to do this with various people as it whittles its way down. It seems to me that there's a strong pro-Truss faction. And in fact, she's being presented now as the continuity Boris Johnson candidate, and she's had the backing of key Johnson allies like Nadine Dorries and Jacob Rees-Mogg. But there also seems to be a lot of anything but Truss MPs who either perhaps feel that she was too loyal to the Prime Minister, or perhaps they feel that, sound as she is, she's not the most compelling communicator and she might turn off voters. I mean, there's probably different reasons for this, but there are a lot of MPs who are now pushing for Penny Mordaunt, I think, to avoid Liz Truss emerging as the kind of the candidate of the Tory right. And then, of course, you have the European Research Group who are backing Suella Braverman. And as Emily was saying, the team Kemi, who's came out of nowhere and has really developed some momentum and has made it to the 20 vote threshold today. Though, of course, tomorrow she will need to get another 10 to get to 30 and progress into the next round.
Exactly. First round of voting tomorrow afternoon. We'll bring you all of the results and analysis on tomorrow's night show. And thank you so much to two leading Conservative columnists, the Daily Telegraph's Madeline Grant and Conservative Home's Emily Carver.